If you found yourself looking at houses online lately, this video is for you. Because here's what I've learned after helping families move all over DFW. Most people don't start looking because they want a bigger house. They start looking because something about their daily life is not working the way it used to. Maybe the kids are getting older. Maybe you're working from home now. Maybe every closet is overflowing. Or maybe you've caught yourself wondering if your family has simply outgrown the house that once felt perfect. The problem is, it can be really hard to know whether that's a sign that you should move or if you're just going through a temporary season of life. So today, we're going to talk about how to know the difference. We'll cover some signs that you may have outgrown your current home, how to decide whether moving actually makes sense, and one of the biggest things keeping families stuck right now, the infamous 3% mortgage rate. Hi, I'm Oriana, your real estate bestie. I help DFW families buy and sell homes without feeling overwhelmed. So let's jump in. Recently, I had a conversation with a family who wasn't even sure why they reached out. They weren't ready to list their house. They weren't actively shopping for homes. They just kind of felt stuck. Their kids were getting older. One parent was working from home. That house had worked beautifully for years, suddenly kind of felt really cramped. And they kept asking themselves, are we just being dramatic? Should we make this work? Do we really need to move? No one likes to move. And honestly, that's where most move-up buyers start. Not with excitement, not with house hunting, but with frustration. Most people don't wake up one morning and decide to move. Usually it starts with a lot of little things that slowly add up over time. So let's look at some of the biggest signs that you may have outgrown your current home. Sign number 1, you're running out of space. This is usually the first thing people notice. When you bought your homes, it may have been exactly what you needed. Then life happened. Maybe you had children. Maybe your family grew. Maybe one bedroom became a nursery and another one became an office. Maybe your garage has become a storage unit. As a mom myself, I can definitely relate to this one. When we bought our house, it was perfect. Now it feels like toys somehow multiply overnight. My dining room doubles up as my office, and I practically don't have a living room because it's just full of toys. So if you're like me and you're constantly reorganizing, decluttering, and trying to figure out where things belong, the problem may not be your organizational skills. The problem might be that your house no longer fits your current season of life. Sign number 2, your home doesn't function the way you need it to. Sometimes the issue is not square footage, it's functionality. Maybe you're working from the kitchen table every day. Maybe your kids are doing homework in the dining room. Maybe you only have one living area and everyone is competing for the same space. Your laundry room is nowhere near the bedrooms. These little inconveniences don't seem like a big deal at first, but when they happen every day for years, they start affecting your quality of life. One of the things I encourage families to think about is not just how much space they have, but how well the space actually works. Sign number 3, you're avoiding having people over. This one doesn't get talked about enough. Have you stopped hosting holidays? Do you feel stressed when family comes to visit? Do you wish you had a guest room? Do you find yourself saying things like, we just don't have the room? Our home are where life happens, okay? They're where we celebrate birthdays, host friends, and make memories. If your home is limiting the way you want to live, that's worth paying attention to. Sign number 4, you've outgrown the neighborhood. Sometimes the problem is not the house at all, it's the location of the house. Maybe your commute has changed. Maybe your kids are entering a different stage of life. Maybe you're looking for different schools, parks, restaurants, or just activities nearby. The house may still be great, but your priorities may have evolved, and that's completely normal. Sign number 5, you're constantly looking at homes online. Let's be honest, if you're watching this video, there's a good chance you've been browsing homes online. Maybe once in a while, maybe every night before bed, just scrolling, And while curiosity is normal, sometimes it's telling us something. It doesn't necessarily mean you should move tomorrow, but it may mean you're starting to imagine life could look like in a different home. Now, here's something you might not expect a realtor to say. Sometimes moving is not the answer. Sometimes the answer is just reorganizing. Sometimes it's converting a room. Sometimes it's a remodel. Sometimes it's just adding storage solutions. And sometimes it's simply using your space a little differently. I've had conversations with family who were convinced they needed a bigger house. Then we talked through their situation and they realized a renovation just made more sense. My goal is never to convince someone to move. My goal is to just help them make the best decision for their family. And sometimes that decision is staying exactly where they are. Now, let's talk about the elephant in the room. The thing I hear almost every week. I would move, but I have a 3% interest rate. Maybe you've said that yourself. Honestly, I understand. I have friends who say it all the time. And if I'm being real, I understand the feeling personally too, because I have a 3% interest rate. When you're locked in a historically low interest rate, it can feel impossible to walk away from it. But here's the question I think most people need to ask. Are you staying because the house still works for your family, or are you staying because of the rate? Those are two very different things, because a mortgage rate affects your finances, but your home affects your daily life. The conversations you have, the memories you make, the stress you feel, the convenience of your routines, it affects everything, okay? I'm not saying everyone should move, of course, far from it, but I do think some families are allowing a mortgage rate to make a decision that should really be based on their overall goals and quality of life. Sometimes staying is the right answer, and sometimes moving is the right answer. The important thing is understanding all of your options before making that decision. Here's the emotional side nobody talks about. I think this is the part that gets overlooked the most. The decision to move is really not about bedrooms, bathrooms, or square footage. It's about memories. It's about the nursery where you brought your baby home. It's about birthday parties in the backyard. It's about teaching your child to ride a bike on that street. About the neighbors who became friends. It's about the life you've built in that home. Even when a house no longer fits your needs, it can still be incredibly difficult to let it go. As a parent, I completely understand that, believe me. These are moments tied to a home that you can never recreate, and sometimes people feel guilty for wanting something different, like they've somehow been ungrateful. But I don't think that's true at all. You can be incredibly grateful for the home that carried your family through one chapter of life, while also recognizing that you're ready for that next chapter. Both things can be true. If you're trying to figure out on whether moving makes sense, here's a few questions to think about. If you could wave a magic wand, what would you change about your current home? Can that problem realistically be solved? How long would you be happy staying if nothing changed? Would a different home significantly improve your daily life? And what will your ideal next chapter actually look like? The answers to those questions can provide a lot of clarity. Once families start considering a move, the next question is almost always, should we buy first or sell first? And honestly, this is where a lot of people get overwhelmed. They're worried about carrying 2 mortgages. They're worried about selling and not finding something else. They're worried about finding the perfect home, and then their current house doesn't sell. The good news is there isn't just one right answer. The best strategy depends on your finances, timeline, and comfort level. Some families buy first. Some sell first. Some use bridge loans. Some negotiate leasebacks. Some take advantage of special financing programs. Every situation is different. That's actually why I created a free quiz. It's designed specifically to help families start thinking through which path makes the most sense for their situation. If you've been feeling that little voice telling you your current home is not working quite as well as you used to, don't ignore it. That doesn't automatically mean it's time to move right now, but it may mean it's time to start exploring your options. The goal is not to convince yourself to move. The goal is to get clarity, because once you have clarity, you can make the best decision for you and for your family with confidence. If you'd like help figuring out whether buying first or selling first makes more sense for your situation, I've linked my free quiz below. And if you're a growing family here in the DFW area, make sure to subscribe, because I create videos every week to help you navigate your next move without feeling overwhelmed. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.